Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of Mr. Wizard's Workshop for Entrepreneurs, episode 54. The focus this week will be the one thing. I've talked about it, trained on it before, but one of my business coaching clients asked me a question about in our latest weekly session, and also got an email from someone talking about a highly successful younger entrepreneur who's basically doing the one thing, although he didn't call it that. So anyway, it kind of all came together, but I thought this would be a good time to revisit this subject and dive down into even more detail. As a reminder, the book, The One Thing, The Surprisingly Simple Truth Behind Extraordinary Results, number one bestseller, and a really excellent book. So by focusing on a single task or goal, the most important thing that will have the greatest impact on whatever domain the goal is in, you can achieve extraordinary results. So that's basically the book in a nutshell. So not all tasks are equal in terms of their impact on your goals. Would seem to be an obvious thing, but I don't think everyone has completely internalized that idea. So if you identify and prioritize the one thing that matters the most, you can direct your time, energy, and resources towards that one thing. So to apply the one thing question to your life and work, you ask yourself, what is the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes either easier or unnecessary? So the focus obviously of this weekly workshop, Mr. Wizard's Workshop for Entrepreneurs, is work and career. But don't lose sight of the fact that you need to, or at least would probably benefit in most cases from asking the one thing question for each of the domains of your life. Or another way to say that is the one thing is going to be different in a different domain. So here's the way I like to think about the domains. Other people use slightly different things, but I think you can get the feel: physical health, mental, emotional well-being, relationships, and social connection. I've got it in bold, work and career, because that's obviously kind of the primary focus of this weekly workshop. And personal growth and fulfillment, I think of that as, for me, primarily the spiritual domain. There are also two different time perspectives that you need to be aware of, think about, and they obviously drill down to this in a lot of detail in the book. The one thing question should be applied from both a short-term and a long-term perspective. And I'll talk about the short term first, because it can help you identify the most important task or action to focus on in the immediate future. And also, question can also be asked from the point of view and in the context of your longer term goals. The reality is you really need to do the longer term work first. You have to be clear your 1 year goals and the most important 1 year goal, the one thing goal for your longer time period, before you can really get crisp and pinpoint on a daily basis. But I'm going to start with short-term perspective, because that's something that you really need to apply basically every day. So that is, what is the one thing I can do today that will have the most significant impact on my progress towards my big goal? And then, not surprisingly, I'm highly recommending that you block that task out on your calendar, put the time block, or if you say you're going to hit 4 hours on it, probably two-hour time blocks. Get that onto your calendar first and then do it. So for the long-term perspective, what is the one thing I can do? And my longer-term perspective, some people do like these 5 or 10 year plans. For me, it seems much more real to me if I just say over the next year. So what is the one thing I can do over this next year that will have the most significant impact on my business success? So that's an example of focusing on the business or career domain. Obviously, the answer to this won't change from day to day, or hopefully it doesn't, but it will probably evolve over time. So my general recommendation is revisit, refine your annual goals on a quarterly basis. And I actually like to break them down into quarterly goals too. But every quarter when I visit and refine my quarterly goals, I also step back up a level and think about and refine my annual goals. And of course, I also recommend blocking this quarterly planning session out in your calendar. So remember that the one thing is not about neglecting other responsibilities entirely. It's a major focus on the one thing. And on a daily basis, for example, my goal is to, out of the total amount of time that I allocate daily to work on my business, at least 50% of that should be specifically targeted towards my one thing. The whole power of the one thing comes from strategically identifying and prioritizing the most impactful task that aligns with your goals. The other part of that power comes from focusing the majority of your resources on that one thing, kind of like a laser, and the concentration that you get in the physical world by using a laser and leveraging the domino effect, which I've also talked about before, where a small step on a daily basis can have an incrementally geometric impact. And this is physically illustrated by this little GIF where a small domino can knock over a 50% larger domino, which in turn can knock over another 50% larger until you get this over time massive effect. So action item for this week, think about and decide which domain you actually want to put the one thing question into play for right now. And then go ahead and ask that one thing question from a long-term perspective first. There are different domains, and I want to make sure that you understand I'm not recommending that you focus everything on the work and career. It's just one of the important domains. I list all 5 of them here, and I'm recommending pick one. And, maybe you've already done that for work and career or not, but you haven't done it for some other of the important domain. And I given you a particular example, which I've actually went through this exercise a couple of years ago, which is what is the one thing I can do over the next year that will have the most significant impact on my physical health? And I can tell you, and I think it's actually the answer for everybody, which was average 8 hours of quality sleep. All the other, everything else around your health is kind of sits on this platform of quality sleep. But I won't go too far down that path, but that's an example of me in the past applying that one thing question to the physical domain. And then that in turn led me to taking daily actions that move me along to hitting that goal, which I actually hit now. I average almost every night 8 hours of quality sleep, quality being measured by total sleep, REM sleep, and deep sleep, as reported by my Oura Ring, which I have charging right now. So a question for you, are you an entrepreneur who's highly motivated to improve your productivity, but you still struggle with procrastination and regularly find yourself neglecting your highest priority tasks? So schedule a free 30-minute quick start to time blocking working session call with me. I show you how to beat procrastination and get your shit done. And I'll post the link to my scheduling app in the description of this week's video. So I am a master of time blocking, and I can help you master it also. But I have a very limited number of time blocks available in my calendar because I block out my highest priority stuff first. So grab a slot while you can.
When you said what's the one thing you can do for your physical well-being, 8 hours of sleep, I was like, oh, he's calling me out. I better connect twice. So I guess you wanted to ask just about my thoughts, or did you have a specific question?
Your thoughts. Which domain? I'm curious. Which of the 5 domains do you think right now today would be most beneficial for you to put some work on as far as the one thing question? Have you done that exercise for your business?
Yeah, for my business all the time. I mean, that is one of my. So to answer your question first. For the 5 areas, the one where I could probably, not probably, but the one where I could focus on the one thing more, or I'm not even quite sure what my one thing is C, relationships and social connections. That is definitely way on the back burner for me in my current, stage, phase, whatever. I mean, personal growth and fulfillment. I mean, I thought blocking out nothing time was silly until I consistently started time blocking, and then I discovered that blocking out nothing time it only sounds silly if you don't do time blocking, but if you do time blocking, you understand why it works and why it's helpful.
All right. So any other thoughts as far as today's content, or anything else that resonated with you, or anything that you thought didn't strike you as completely accurate and correct? Anything you want to argue about?
No, nothing to argue about. Just I like when you said that your long-term goals are 1-year goals, because I don't like these 10-year plans. I don't know. It's just, I mean, it's okay to have a 10-year goal, right? I also have goals like how do I imagine life retired and things like, but these like, I don't know, these obsessive 10-year plans. It's just usually when people go down that route, what they end up doing is doing a bunch of planning and not very much working, or like not very much implementing. Yes. And so when you said 1 year goals, for me, I feel really good with the 2 year goal time span, but yeah, like 5 years and beyond, I'm like, well, it doesn't take that much to. That's exactly how I feel as well. So that was nice to hear that you also do that.
Let me observe, based on my own personal experience of 70 years, that things never go exactly, or even sometimes remotely, as you expect or think that they're going to. So to think that you're actually going to come up with some realistic, meaningful 10-year goals is basically ludicrous. 1 year, yeah.
Yeah, and also if you can plan the next 10 years and everything goes according to plan, to me that means over the next 10 years you learned nothing.
Right.
Because if you keep learning, then you keep improving your plan and you understand, oh, wait, there's a better way or a different way or a more suitable way. And then those 10-year steps is like out the window.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even like a 1 year plan, if you if you have a 1 year plan that's frozen, you're not periodically revisiting, thinking about it, that's pretty rigid in and of itself. And you're probably not evolving or growing or even making as much progress as you could if you had a little bit more flexibility and you were iterating and based on actual experience, including day to day, where you try something, it doesn't work, and you try something else. If you're not, that doesn't impact your longer term goals, at least periodically, then you probably are a little too rigid.
Sounds like plan enough so you can take action.
Exactly.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Perfect. I mean, yeah, that's a perfect description of plan just enough. The Goldilocks amount of plan.
It's always so nice to talk to you in this workshop, and I'll see you next week.
You bet. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks for watching this video recording from my live weekly workshop. Every Sunday, I feature instantly actionable steps you can take to overcome procrastination, increase your productivity, and get your shit done. Followed up by Q&A and discussion with the live participants. I really hope you found this video useful and you feel like watching it was time well spent. Please post any questions or comments you have. I always answer posts. I'd appreciate it very much if you would like this video and subscribe to my channel. And if you know anyone that would enjoy and benefit from this particular episode, please send them the link. Stay productive, my friends.